Hi, I'm Nick and this is the TBT channel, and this is part 3 on making the ultimate springer, tuning your HW97 or 77. Part 1 we looked at how to take it apart. Part 2 we looked at what to do inside of it, how to choose a TBT kit and what they do. Part 3 we're simply going to rebuild the gun with our TBT kit. So let's do it now. The kit itself, you've got your spring and your guides. We've already got on this one, we've already got a piston extension on the front of the piston. This is the Maxi Pro kit that we're fitting here, so it's got a short stroke extension to make it perfect for 12 foot-pounds. What we are going to do first is lubricate the piston. So I'm going to use bum slide because this comes in the Maxi Pro kit. As long as you're using a molybdenum disulfide product, you'll be fine. Please don't use anything with silicone, but anything black is generally good. So we just need a small amount of the bum slide. We're just going to put some on that side, some around on the other side there, and then we're just going to work it in over the whole of the piston. Okay, normally you'd spend a couple of minutes just making sure this goes on evenly all around the piston. I'm not going to do all of it because we've got a video to make. The black on your finger, you want to rub upwards around the edge of the lip of the seal on the front there. Okay, it doesn't need much lubrication and that should be enough. The way to tell if you've not got enough is if you do a shot string and your first shot is here and each subsequent shot is lower, wait 10 minutes, go back and it's back up again. That means your piston seal is getting too warm with the friction and they're getting too tight, and that's reducing the power. That means you need just a small amount more on the edge of the seal, but too much and it will diesel, so we don't want to go over the top with it. Next we get our compression tube. We do not put any grease inside of our compression tube. If you remember back, every time a piston comes out of the compression tube we need to degrease it. So we're going to introduce this into there. There's a small hole there for the cocking arm. We're going to line up the slot in the piston with that hole, put that in there, and that goes all the way down into there. Next we're going to lubricate the outside of the compression tube, and the way I do that is again just with bum slide along the bottom edge of it. Just run some along there, because the way gravity works, most of the time it's going to be sliding backwards and forwards with most of its weight bearing on that edge. So we're just going to put some there, and then I'm going to put a ring around the outside at the back. You can't put too much on this one because this isn't part of the compression tube working part, the internal of it, so it's not going to create dieseling. You just don't want it to get onto this piece because that's the piece you see once it goes into the gun. So just put that there while I de-bum slide my finger. So we've got bum slide there, bum slide a ring of it there, and we've got the slot in the piston lining up with the small hole in the compression tube. And we put that into the gun all the way down. Line it up and it goes onto the barrel there. Next we're going to look at the cocking arm. Now here's a top tip for you, okay? Not many people know this one. Once you've cured the twang inside of the rifle with your TBT kit, you hear all kinds of other noises. One of the main ones is the ping that comes from inside of here, the spring inside of the cocking arm that holds that detent there. So what you need to do is push that detent down. Now, Worth make a product, I'm sure lots of other people do as well. It's a motorcycle chain lubricant. It's an anti-fling one, and what it does is it goes on liquid. So you push that down and you squirt it down inside there. It goes in liquid, capillary action takes it all the way around the spring, and then the solvent goes off and leaves behind a thick white grease. So what that means is you introduce it into there, the solvent burns off, leaves grease on the spring inside of there, deadens that ping. That ping will drive you crazy. Do that and you'll thank me later. Right, the cocking arm. What we want to do is we've got the little tip on the front of there that's going to sit inside of the hole there. We just want to dip that into bum slide. Okay, get a small amount onto there. And we also want to, with a small screwdriver, get a small amount of bum slide, and we've got 4 faces on this hinge, 2 outside and 2 out inside, and we want to get just a small amount of bum slide on all of that, so when it sits inside of there it's going to be lubricated because that's a metal on metal surface. So first we introduce the cocking arm into that hole, and we're just going to let it fall into place. If you have to put any force on it, it's in the wrong place and you're going to risk breaking it. So just let it fall into place like that, and then that will go down, that goes into place, and everything should line up for your small pin there. Again, we've just got bum slide on our finger, so just give it that pin a little rub around. He goes into there. Find my brass mallet. Brass is very good. It's softer than steel, so you can actually use it for the pins and you're not going to damage the pins, and if you accidentally miss, much less chance of damaging the surrounding steel or blacking. So that is now in place. That moves the compression tube backwards and forwards. So far, so funky. Now we're going to look at the spring with our TBT guides fitted. So first of all, clockwise twist, take out the top hat. Small amount of bum slide on the top hat there. Okay, and then a small amount of bum slide, poke down inside of that hole, and that's going to lubricate the latch rod. So clockwise twist to get that back in, clockwise twist to get the rear guide out. We're going to do the same on the rear guide. Now I'm using bum slide on all these places. I don't know if I told you in one of the other ones because I can't remember off the top of my head, but one of these pots is enough to do about 20 rebuilds. So that gives you an idea of how little you use each time. So we've got some on the inside of the tube, some on the outside of the tube. Twist that back into the spring. Now we need to lubricate the spring. This is where it gets mucky. Here we have our little pouch and slippery fingers. A little pouch which contains our washers. Never work with children's animals or small polythene bags. Right, our washers, we've got a slip washer which we'll use in a moment, and we have 2 power washers. Now these, I wouldn't recommend fitting them straight away. If you've got a full power kit, there's a good chance it won't cock with those on there. If you've got a sub 12 foot-pound kit, you need to check the power before you fit these. But each of those will give you approximately half a foot-pound on average, should you require a little bit more. So we've got our small pouch of standard molybdenum grease. I'm just going to clip the corner off of that, and what we want to do is just get a small amount of this and squirt it into the palm of one hand, and magnificently throw that over there into the palm of one hand, and then the spring in that palm, pull it through like that, work it backwards and forwards. That is your spring perfectly greased. Now some of the grease onto the front face of that top hat will allow you just to stick that slip washer on the front of there, and then we're going to push that all up and onto the latch rod inside there. Good. So the spring is in position. I've got a spare slip washer. I wonder where that came from. Must be from an earlier video, or they're breeding. That'd be good if I could encourage the plastic parts to breed. I'll have to make them then. Right, let's just clean the clot off my hands. The next thing to do is the trigger block needs to go back on. So we're going to clean the old grease off of that. There, bit of tissue just to dry it. Then just a very small amount of bum slide rubbed onto there. Depending on which kit you've got, you're going to have a different amount of preload here. The easiest way to rebuild the gun and to deal with the preload is to put that on a strong surface, put the gun onto it, and then simply downward pressure with one hand, twist the threads on with the other. If you've got a full power kit, if there's a lot of preload and you're not comfortable with it, get a sash clamp, a carpenter's sash clamp. You can pick them up for about 15-18 quid off of Screwfix. Screw it onto a piece of wood, throw a towel over the whole lot, and you've got an instant spring compressor. You drop the gun into it, wind in the end, and then you've got all the spring tension absolutely controlled. When you do this up, you'll see that the slots don't line up. So similarly to in video 1, where we had to use our brass punch to undo the trigger housing, the trigger block, what we're going to do now is tapping it the other way. We're just going to do that until they line up perfectly. Now you should be able to get your fingernail and run it along the dovetails for the scope on the inside of there, and you shouldn't be able to feel the join. If you can't feel the join, it's in the right place. Next, we're going to put the trigger in. We've already adjusted our trigger as per the record easy and free adjustment video. So we need to cock it first. Then we're not fighting the spring for the sear as that drops into place. We get our safety catch with the safety catch spring, pop that into place there, and then we want to line up the long pin, which we've got 2 pins here. The longest is the front one, so line up the front one first, tap him in, and then hold the safety pin, the safety catch almost fully in, and you'll find the part where it's being held by the trigger. Line up the rear pinhole, and that pops into place. Then we simply fire the trigger, otherwise the gun won't cock. The last thing we have to do is our barrel nut, which secures everything here, and the trigger guard clamps onto. Now, if you followed my advice, you've taken the anti-bear trap, which was wrapped around this cocking lever, you've taken that and put it aside because we don't want it. It doesn't allow you to decock the gun, and if something were to fail in the trigger, it wouldn't stop everything flying forward. So we're going to practice safe procedure and hold the cocking arm at all times instead. Remove the trigger block, the trigger blocking device, I should say, which will allow you to decock the rifle. But this still needs to go in, and there is a small shim there that would have shimmed it to stop it interfering with the anti-bear trap. That still needs to be on there, so make sure it is, and then that is screwed into there like that. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We've got lots of these videos I'm making at the moment, and if you hit notifications as well, you'll be told as soon as they're released. Now this one here needs nipping up with a spanner, because if it's only finger tight, you may find that that will ping as well, because once you've got rid of the twang, it's when you notice all the little things. But I think we've covered all the things that are likely to ping on your gun, and we've covered everything you need to make your HW97 or 77 as good as any other 97 or 77 in the world. It's a fantastic gun to start with, so the improvements we've done on it here just make it better, and quite possibly the ultimate spring powered air rifle. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you all again. Goodbye.